Hello and welcome to my official Summerween reading vlog. I just uploaded my TBR. Wow, she is hitting that stretch. I just uploaded my Summerween TBR video and I did start the Saturday Night Ghost Club. I am about 25 pages in and I was planning to sit outside and read because it was very nice and sunny and warm, and now it's raining, and that is just Colorado. But I feel like it's been raining a lot, like everywhere. Any YouTube video I watch, they're always like, oh my god, it's been raining for days straight. And I'm like, okay, so it's not just Colorado? I don't know. Anyway, the point is it's raining now, so I'm going to read this inside, but I am planning to finish this today because it is pretty short. It's... how many pages is it? 206 pages, not including the acknowledgments. So, should be pretty easy to get through. I am enjoying this so far. Like I said, I'm only 25 pages through, so I don't have like very strong opinions, but I really like the first chapter. I just thought it was so cute. We get introduced to this character as a kid, and he believes that there's a monster in his closet, like, you know, a lot of kids do. And so his uncle comes in, is like, oh, you've got this slug monster, very common around these parts, just do this and it'll go away. And I just thought it was so cute and just so sweet the way that his uncle treated that whole situation, rather than just like the way that his father reacted, where he was just like, you have to grow up and get over it, there's no monster in there. So I really, really enjoyed that first chapter. I think this is going to be a very high, like, summery vibes, and like Stephen King's It, like this group of kids that are becoming friends over the summer, and got some paranormal aspects to it. So I'm very, very excited. Like I said, enjoying it so far. So going to keep reading this, but unfortunately I have to read it inside. So yeah. I got my pumpkin blanket and I've got my tea, so the vibes are there. I'm gonna put my music on, and me and Lil here are just gonna hang out, and yeah. So I will be back when I've got an update on this. It is raining so hard now. You probably can't tell, but it's like pouring rain out there. Well, if this day wasn't already screaming summertime and July, it just started hailing. So, yeah. So I'm halfway through the Saturday Night Ghost Club now. I am on page 105. I don't have a lot to say except that I am really enjoying it so far. The characters are so fun and they all have like such just, I don't know, interesting and unique personalities, and I really love that. And basically they started their little club now, so it's these two kids and the main character's uncle, and they basically go to these creepy places that have like legends or ghost stories around them and try to see what they can find. And I don't know, it's just really fun, and like I said, very high in summer vibes, 1980s, like kind of a small town. Yeah, I am really, really enjoying it. It is still rainy and gloomy outside, and I'm still disappointed about it, but that's okay. Still reading the Saturday Night Ghost Club. I'm on page 180, so I'm almost done. This isn't really a book update, but a phrase was just said on this page that I think is so weird. He said, a slice of paper. What? I have literally never heard anybody call a piece of paper a slice of paper. I don't know why that is so peculiar to me. Anyways, I'm like 20 pages from the end, so I'm going to finish that and then I will be back to update you. Okay, I have finished book 1 for the Summerween readathon. I think I'm gonna give this either a 4 or a 4.5. Stop looking at me. I can see you out of the corner of my eye. I think I'm gonna give this either a 4 or a 4.5. I really enjoyed it, but I wouldn't say it was like a perfect 5-star read. I think this is like a perfect little horror book for summer. It is very high with summer vibes. It is like a coming of age with this group of kids in this small town in the 80s. And it was just really fun to read. The characters were very enjoyable. I think I mentioned before, like, they have just all very interesting personalities, and I really, really enjoyed it. And we also get like glimpses into the main character's life as an adult. I also liked the ending of this where everything kind of came together and it went a different direction than I was expecting, but I really, really liked it and it kind of added some significance to the story and the places that they visit in their little ghost club. It just all came together very perfectly, I feel like, and really added just an interesting element. It was honestly kind of sad too at the ending, just the things that were explained. I can't say too much because that'll be a spoiler. In the end, I really enjoyed this book. I would definitely recommend it. It is a very quick and short and fun little read for summertime especially. And now we're gonna move on to the next book. I also forgot to mention that I chose this book for the Summerween prompt that was to read a book that was set in fall, and I was under the impression that this book was set in fall, but it's actually set during the summer. However, the last chapter takes place on Halloween, so I am counting that as fall time, and I'm gonna say that that counts for that prompt. Hi, hello. It is a new day. It is now Saturday, and today is going to be my novella day. So I'm reading a few novellas today, but I'm actually going to make that its own separate vlog so that I can upload it during Summerween. So you won't see the novellas in this video, but that vlog will be up by the time this one's up, so you guys can go and watch that if you haven't already. However, after I finished the Saturday Night Ghost Club last night, I read another story in the Stephen Graham Jones what is it called? When all the people lights have turned off. What is it called? Oh my god. Me not knowing. After the people lights have gone off is what it's called. So I read one more story from that last night, and I read the first 3 stories actually before Summerween, so I just wanted to talk about them, give you guys my review opinions on those stories so far. So far the first story is my favorite. That one is called 13, and it's basically about these kids that live in this town where there's like this movie theater that's got this like kind of urban legend around it. And just like a little game that kids play when they go to the theater and they like shut their eyes and just count to, I think it's 120 during a scary movie. And it was very interesting, and it really reminded me, I think it's just because of the movie theater setting, it reminded me of Night of the Mannequins, which is also Stephen Graham Jones. But I thought that one was pretty good. I gave it 4 stars. And then the next one was Brush Dogs, I think. Yes, so the second story was called Brush Dogs, and that's about a man and his son go into the woods and they're hunting and some weird stuff goes down, and I think I understand kind of what happened in that story, but I'm not 100% sure. And that one, Stephen Graham Jones, reminded me of The Only Good Indians with just like the hunting and the animal aspect of it. I think I gave that one 3.5 stars, but I might move that up. I don't know. We'll see. The next story was called Welcome to the Reptile House, and that was about this guy who is trying to be a tattoo artist, and to get practice, he goes to a morgue and practices on the bodies that are like about to be incinerated or like burned. That one was interesting. It wasn't my favorite though. I think I gave that one 3 stars. And then the next story was called This Is Love, and that was about these two guys that are in a relationship and they're going on a camping trip, and then there's also like a missing kid at this rest stop or something. I'm not sure. I don't fully understand what happened in that story, and I don't know if it was just because I don't understand it or if it was because I was reading it late at night. I'm sure that didn't help, but I ended up giving that one 3 stars as well. So I'm gonna continue reading these short stories as we go through Summerween. I don't know if I'll finish the book during Summerween, but I'm gonna continue reading it during Summerween. I don't know if that makes any sense. Anyway, I'm off to read some novellas now, so I probably won't see you again until tomorrow, maybe. Hello, it is now day 3 of the readathon. I read my 4 novellas yesterday, and this morning I started Mr. Magic by Kirsten White, and the prologue was a great way to kick it off. I think it was creepy and just everything that I wanted. And now we are introduced to, I think, the main character that we're following, who was a girl that was on the show. Her name is Val. We don't know too much about her right now, but the chapter that I just read ended with a man coming to her house and calling her by her full name, which not a lot of people know, and he says, "I can't believe I finally found you." So I'm interested to see where that goes. I also think this is going to be like mixed media, which is really fun. It seems like there's a podcast element. There have been some tweets posted about people like talking about the show. So it is very interesting so far. Really liking it, and I'm excited to keep reading. I am now 33% of the way through Mr. Magic, and it's actually very creepy. I don't know how to explain it. It just feels so creepy and so unsettling, and they just had like the first podcast interview with one of the kids from the show, and it was just weird and freaky, and I don't know. I'm just very invested right now, and it's kind of reminding me of Whisper Down the Lane by Clay McLeod Chapman. Just the idea of like these children that were involved in something and they can't fully remember what it was, and they have a lot of repressed memories and they're trying to get it back, but it's obviously something weird and creepy happening. I don't know. That is like an aspect that I really love in like movies and books, especially horror, when it's just creepy things that happened with kids in the past. I don't know. I'm really, really enjoying it. And yeah, I just wanted to update you guys. Like, it's actually just, I don't know, leaving me feeling very unsettled so far. There's also like a creepy aspect to it where like the kids, they're all adults now having this reunion, and they like refuse to say his name. They won't say Mr. Magic. They just like refer to it as the show, or like, I don't know. It's just very interesting. And I guess that was a rule they came up with when they were kids on the show, so I'm very curious to see why they came up with that rule and what happens if you say Mr. Magic. I don't know. We also just got a couple big reveals that I'm very interested in, about another kid that was on the show that is not with them on this reunion. So yeah, I'm gonna keep reading. It's going very, very well, and I'm gonna try to finish it tonight because I'm just so invested in this story, and I hope that it has a good payoff. Like, I hope the reveal or the explanation to the mystery, I hope it's not something dumb. I hope it keeps up with the creepy and unsettling vibes. So I am now about 50% of the way through Mr. Magic. Still really loving it. I have some theories. I think I'm starting to understand what might be happening Wow, the cat is yelling at me. They'll be like, "Who are you talking to? That's not me." Anyway, I have some theories. I think I'm starting to understand what is happening. Yeah, I'm still very much like enjoying it. I think it really is on track to be a 5 star if the second half of the book pans out correctly. Like I said, I just hope that the reveal or whatever doesn't get too dumb or too ridiculous because I'm not always a fan of that. I also really think the mixed media aspect of it is very, very interesting. Like, we get these Reddit posts and other social media posts of people talking about this show and what happened. And I think that's very interesting because I feel like it's so realistic. Because basically, Mr. Magic, like in the book, was the longest running like children's TV show. It ran for 50 years before it ended. So that's multiple generations of people that grew up watching the show every day, and now all of a sudden, like, there's no proof that it existed. There's no articles about it. There's no information about the studio or the directors. There's no footage, no pictures of the set, nothing like that. So just imagine like being a kid that remembers watching this show and now you have no proof that it existed and it just ended in very mysterious circumstances. I feel like it's very realistic that there would be a subreddit for it and there would be Twitter threads and people falling down the rabbit hole and really researching this. So I am very much enjoying that aspect of it as well. I think it's just really interesting. I think a lot of the elements in this book really are just perfect for me and my reading tastes. So it's going really well. Like I said, it is on track to possibly be a 5 star or at least a high 4. So, yeah, I'm gonna keep reading and I'm gonna see if my theories were correct or if it changes a little bit or what. Okay, Mr. Magic, let's talk about it. I'm giving that book 5 stars, and I feel like a lot of that really just comes down to my reading experience with it. It was just so fun. I had a great time reading it. I was creeped out, I was unsettled, and yeah, it was just a very fun and positive reading experience, which I think is what is really making it into a 5 star. I think the author's note at the end was really important as well because it kind of gives you a little bit of insight into why she wrote this story and kind of what I guess the story is trying to say. There's a little bit of that dropped like in the actual book itself, but when you get to the author's note, it really explains it a lot better. How a lot of it talks about like religious cults and like churches and just extremist ideas being forced on children and how harmful that is to children. And it's very obvious that that is what Mr. Magic is because, you know, they're talking about how they felt as kids being in this TV show and the ideas that Mr. Magic was teaching to them and to kids all around the world. And it just, I don't know. The more that I think about it, the more that I really, really enjoyed it. But I can't say too much because it like gives away the plot. At the end of the day, I would highly recommend this, especially if you are a fan of things that involve like creepy mysteries around children. So, like, for example, Silent Hill or Nightmare on Elm Street or the book Whisper Down the Lane by Clay McLeod Chapman. If you enjoyed that one, I think you would like this book as well. Just that type of idea of like a mystery involving children. I also, for the last maybe 20-30% of the book, I put on my Halloween playlist and listened and read, and I think that really heightened the experience. Like listening to the Silent Hill theme song and 28 Days Later title song, like, I don't know, just the creepy music just mixed with the creepy and unsettling vibe of the book, and I just had a great time reading it, and I would definitely recommend if it sounds like something that is interesting to you. However, I do need to say this. It is not going to be a book that everybody's going to enjoy. If you do not like things that get weird and magical and kind of step away from reality, then you probably won't like this one. But if that is something you enjoy in books, as I do, then I would say go ahead and pick this up. But if you hate it, don't blame me, because this is my official disclaimer that this book is not going to be for everybody. And now, after reading this, it's making me rethink if I should read Hyde or not, because I had that one checked out from the library like last year sometime, and then I just never got around to reading it because I didn't want to. I'd heard so many negative things. So I just returned it, and it's like just been out of my head ever since then. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to read that book. But now I'm like, well, I enjoyed this one so much. Should I read Hyde? I don't know. Are you a lover of Hyde? Are you a hater of Hyde? Let me know. So far, Summerween is going spectacularly, and I'm so happy about it. Hello! This morning I started The Silent Woods, which was my thriller pick for Summerween, and I was reading some of the reviews, and there were a lot of people that were saying that it's not really a thriller, even though it gets kind of marketed or like labeled as a thriller, and I'm about 35% of the way through, and I definitely agree with that. I wouldn't call it a thriller. There's not really that much of a mystery. There was a little bit at the beginning. We have this man and his 8-year-old daughter that are living off grid in a cabin in the woods, and you kind of don't really know why they're there, but you know that like he had to run from something, and he did something in his past, and he brought his daughter as an infant to this cabin to escape something. So we just kind of got a little bit more of a backstory on that. And like I said, I'm 35% of the way through, so it's not really very high, compelling mystery, and I definitely wouldn't call it a thriller. Although it is very well written and very, very good so far. We are basically just following the lives of these characters, this man, Cooper, and his daughter, Finch, and learning more and more about why he had to take her away from their previous life and what happened to her mother. And it's very interesting. I am enjoying the writing, and it's going well so far. But like I said, I don't know if this really qualifies for my thriller pick. I don't have a lot to say about that one at the moment, but it is, I feel like every book that I've read in here, aside from the novellas, obviously I know the novellas were going to be shorter, but like Mr. Magic and the Saturday Night Ghost Club, as well as this one, I feel like they're all way shorter than I expected them to be. Mr. Magic was 288 pages. The Silent Woods is 275 pages. So I think that's a good thing though, because it's more realistic that I can read them in one day. So I'm currently uploading my novella vlog when I read my 4 novellas in one day, and then I'm going to continue reading. So I will come back and let you guys know my thoughts when I've got some further thoughts. I also want to take a second to say, just because The Silent Woods is going so well, I have been having really good luck with books this month. Literally every single book that I've read this month has been 4 or 5 stars. I think I had one that was 3.5 stars, but still, that is really, really good for me, and I hope it keeps going this way. And with the way that The Silent Woods is going, that one is going to be another at least 4-star, I feel like, so I'm really happy about that. It always feels so great when you're just getting win after win after win when it comes to reading. So I am just over halfway through The Silent Woods now, and so far this one is also on track to be a 5-star. I am really enjoying the story, the atmosphere, the characters. I don't know, I think it's really, really good. The writing as well. I'm really, really into this book, and I still don't think it really has like thriller or like mystery vibes, although there are a few like little things that will happen that kind of give you some suspense, and you think, oh, maybe now it's gonna like turn into a thriller, and then it resolves very quickly. But the story is fantastic, the writing is fantastic. I really love the characters. Cooper and Finch, they're just so fun, especially Finch. She's 8 years old and very smart and very funny, and I really just am enjoying it. So That's good. Lil says hi, by the way. I'm almost done with this book, but why did nobody tell me that this was gonna make me cry? I'm so sad right now. Okay, I finished these Silent Woods. Absolutely no question about it. This was a 5-star, and I may be adding it to my favorites list. But first of all, why did none of y'all tell me that this book was gonna make me cry? I started crying like a baby, I swear. It was way more sad than I expected it to be. Like, sad, but kind of heartwarming as well. Oh, I don't know. This is a very character-driven story and very much like a slow burn. It isn't until the very, very end that the, like, mystery, thriller type of suspenseful aspect really picks up. And then by then you're so attached to the characters that it just hits even harder. Oh my god, I'm gonna cry just talking about this. The way that that ended was fantastic, and I could totally 100% see this as a movie, and I would totally 100% watch it. Wow. I literally just finished it like 30 seconds ago, so I'm still so emotional, but that was so good. If you have been thinking about reading this book, if it's been on your TBR for a while, stop everything and read this book right now because I'm gonna be thinking about this one for a while, and I think the more that I think about it, I think I am gonna put it on my list of all-time favorites because it was freaking fantastic. I'm gonna look up this author now and find some of her other books and give them a try. I really fully went into this thinking that it was just gonna be like your standard mystery thriller book. Like, this man and his daughter live in the woods. They're running from something. What is it? But it just turned into so much more than that. Like I said, it's very character driven. Like, there is just a limited cast of characters. We have Cooper, the father, Finch, his daughter, and then we have their one and only neighbor, Scotland, and then we have one of Cooper's friends named Jack. So, very limited cast of characters, but you get freaking attached to every single one of them, and every single one of them will make you want to cry. Just the way that the book panned out, the way the story panned out, and the way that it ended, I was like just in shock and just so, I don't know, like I said, just so emotionally connected to everything that happened. The story was fantastic. The writing was fantastic. The atmosphere, like being in this cabin, like isolated in the woods, and the suspense of like why they're there and why they have to like be away from people and possibly getting spotted by people. I really don't have much else to say except for read this book, and it is 5-star, a new all-time favorite, and I still want to cry about the ending right now. There's so much more that I could say too, just about the language of certain things and specific words used in things at the end of the book and how it relates to the characters and the story in a deeper way. I just wish that I could talk and say so much more things about this book, but I can't without giving anything away. If you've read this, let me know so that I can have somebody else to talk to this book about because I'm just absolutely blown away and I'm just gonna continue to think about it for a while. Now, with that being said, I'm gonna go to bed in a minute, but tomorrow I'm starting Monstrilio, and this may be the last book that I read for the readathon, but I'm very excited for it. And yeah, I need some time to process these Silent Woods and to just think about it and how beautiful everything was. Alright, I am 74 pages, I think. 74 pages through Monstrilio, and so far I am really, really enjoying it. I love the writing style. It's very easy to read, very easy to get through, but I feel like the atmosphere of the story as well is like really good. Just the descriptions of everything and I don't know, just the writing in general, I'm really, really enjoying. So we've got like our introduction to the story about this woman. Her son has died, and when he was born, when her son was born, he only had one lung and it was like underdeveloped. So nobody really expected him to live as long as he did. He died when he was 11. So after his death, she, I guess, just wants to keep a part of him, and so she decides, well, you know, his one lung was kind of what made him special. And so she decides to cut off a piece of his lung. And so we're following her along on this journey as this lung is now coming to life. And it kind of looks like the book is going to be split into 4 parts, just with the different characters. So Magos, forgive me if I pronounce that wrong, that is the mother, and then we have Lena, who is her friend, Joseph, who's the father, and then M, who I'm assuming is going to be like the lung little monster thing. It is very interesting. It is unexpectedly a little bit gay, so I love that. So I am really enjoying this so far. It is very easy to get through. It's been going pretty quickly. And it's also very interesting too because like this whole story with the lung, I don't know if it's like what the correct term would be, if it's like folklore or like urban legend type of thing. But it is really interesting because, like, this woman, she has the piece of the lung, and someone finds it and is like, oh, what is this? Is this a part of your son? And she tells her this story about this woman who, like, took the heart of this, like, dead girl and started to feed it, and it, like, grew into a person one day. And I just think that's very interesting, just like the legend of that. And so then she decides to do it, and now she's got this little creature that is growing. Yeah, I just think it's very, very interesting so far. Really excited to keep reading and see where it goes. And I absolutely love just like the little picture on the front. Like, I I'm just like reading this story and just picturing like this little thing running around, and it's so funny, but I love it. Enjoying the writing so far and just the story in general. It's dealing a lot with grief, obviously, and I'm just really excited to see how it evolves and where it goes from here. So I'm going to keep reading now. Okay, I read for a couple hours and I am now on to Joseph's part, which is pretty much halfway through the book. I'm still enjoying it, although I think I enjoyed Lena's part a lot less than I enjoyed the first part of the story. There were like a few points, honestly, where I kind of forgot whose point of view we were in, because although the characters are very different, the way that they are written is very, very similar. So there's not a lot of distinction between whose point of view it is. So I'm hoping when we read Joseph's part that there will be a little bit more of a difference in like narration or like writing style. It is very interesting though. We're at the part where Monstrilio is like growing and becoming more human-esque, more of a resemblance to their son. I think Monstrilio's a very fun character, just a little creature thing, and I'm really, really excited for the part of the book that is going to be his point of view, or at least it seems that it's going to be that way. I'm excited to see how that goes. However, I don't think this book really is horror. Like, there are some horror elements, obviously, like it's a little creature, a little monster, but I wouldn't necessarily classify it as a horror book. It just kind of feels like weird fiction with some horror elements because we've got this little monster in it. But it's not really big on like horror vibes. So that's interesting. Like I said, I am still enjoying it though, and I'm looking forward to where it goes as Monstrilio progresses and just grows into this more human-like form. I think I'm going to go to bed now, and I'm going to probably finish this tomorrow. Like I said, it is a very easy read, and I really hope that Joseph's part is a little bit more interesting to me. I just wasn't really into Lena's point of view too much, and I hope that the narration style is a little bit easier to distinguish between the characters. So we'll see how that goes. I will give you guys an update on that tomorrow. Also, while we're talking, I've read 3 more stories from After All the People Lights Have Gone Off. I can never remember the title of that book, and I don't know why. So we can go through those stories a little bit. The first one was called The Spindly Man, and I think that might be my favorite so far. That one's basically about this guy whose son was in a very tragic accident and has been injured and kind of is just going to be completely altered for the rest of his life now. And so he starts up this book club, and they're reading Stephen King, they're reading a lot of spooky stuff, and one night they get a visit from a very strange man who asks them each to tell a certain story. And it was very interesting, very creepy, very spooky. I really enjoy books that have that aspect to it where it's like multiple stories in one and they all kind of relate. So I really like that, and like I said, it was pretty creepy and pretty spooky as well. The next one was called, what was the next one called? The Black something of, okay, I'm really bad at remembering things. The next story was called The Black Sleeve of Destiny, and that was about this kid named Dick and this like weird hoodie that he gets from Goodwill, and then he like has this job bagging groceries. I don't know. I don't think I fully understood what was going on at any point in that story, and I just wasn't really like interested in it. It didn't grab my attention, it didn't hold my attention, and I was kind of confused by like what even happened. So I rated that one 2 stars. It just didn't appeal to me personally. And then the last story that I read from that one was The Spider Box, which is basically about this family that has this box that spawns spiders and then goes on to spawn more things than just spiders. And it was very interesting. I really enjoyed the ending of it, and I think I gave that one 4 stars as well. I just thought the concept was very interesting, and the way that the story progressed was pretty cool as well. So that's going good so far. Obviously, all of these stories have like the very distinct Stephen Graham Jones writing style, which sometimes for me is a little bit difficult to get through, but I've read multiple things by him, so it's kind of grown on me by now, and I guess I'm just more used to it, and I know like what to expect when I'm going into a Stephen Graham Jones book. So yeah, going well. Going to read some more. Oh, just holding it upside down. It's fine.
Just pretending to read.
Yeah, like, this book is really good.
It looks like
I am really confused. Either I missed something or there was like a big time jump, and I'm still confused either way. So
you're confused all the time. What are you talking about?
thanks. I really hate to say it, but honestly, I don't think I'm really vibing with Monstrilio that much. I don't know. I think it's just different than what I expected. I was hoping it would be a lot higher on the horror scale. It's really just kind of weird fiction. There's not a whole lot of horror to it, and I still feel like the different point of views are written pretty much the same way. So I have to really, I feel like, make a conscious effort to remember whose section of the book that I'm reading. Right now I'm in Joseph's part, and There was a very abrupt time jump, and I was honestly kind of confused at first. I was like, did I miss something? And then I realized, okay, no, we're just more in the future now. But I wish that there would have been a better progression, maybe, or transition into where we are now in Joseph's life. I don't know, maybe this one's just not really for me. I think I was really enjoying it when Monstrilio was this little lung creature and it was still weird and ambiguous and didn't really know what was going on. But now that he's like starting to grow up and take on more of a human form, I don't know if I'm really enjoying it that much, because once again I was just expecting it to be weird horror throughout, and it's kind of moved away from the horror aspect of it, I guess. I don't know. I'm gonna keep reading. Maybe my opinion will change, maybe it won't, but I'm just not really vibing with it that hard right now. So I came outside with the cat to read a little bit, and I really feel like this book is just kind of dragging right now. This like middle section is not really my favorite, but I am literally getting eaten alive by mosquitoes, so I'm going back inside. I am now on page 227 of Monstrilio, and I don't know why I'm just like I'm really not into this, and I don't feel like reading it, but at the same time there are certain plot points that I want to know more about. Right now this is sitting at like a 3 star, but I'm gonna keep reading, and I don't know if it's gonna get better. I think this book is just not for me, and I'm just not really into it right now, unfortunately. Okay, I have finished Monstrilio, and I'm not sure if I want to give it 3 stars or if I want to give it 3.5 stars. I did enjoy the ending of it. Like, I loved the way that it ended. And I loved M's point of view. That one was definitely written in a different style where it was very, I don't know, very obvious that that is the point of view that we were reading from. I'm just having a hard time because I really enjoyed the end and that last point of view, but I also enjoyed the beginning and Magus's point of view. It was just the middle, like Lena and Joseph, their sections of the book, I just didn't really care that much. I wasn't interested in anything that was happening. I wasn't a fan of their point of view. Like I said, especially with Lena's point of view, I literally kept forgetting that I was reading from her point of view, and I kept confusing myself because it was written very similar to Magus's point of view. And then Joseph's point of view was also the same way. So I think the end of this definitely had some more horror to it as well as the beginning, but the rest of it really just gives like literary fiction vibes, not really horror vibes, but because there is that horror aspect in the beginning with, you know, the creation of Monstrilio to begin with, and then the way that things end, I could definitely say that there are horror elements to it, and so I would say that you could call it a horror. It is, I think, commonly referred to as a literary horror, and I would agree with that after finishing the book. However, it definitely does have just a very heavy literary fiction feel in the middle of it. So I wouldn't recommend going into this expecting like full-on horror and like a monster story from it. What are you doing? Can I help you? There was also a lot of it that reminded me of like classic Mary Shelley Frankenstein. Just the way that we have this creature that is trying to fit into human society when it is very obvious that that's never going to happen. They're never fully going to integrate into a society and be able to safely be among humans, and safely for like themselves and then also for like the people around them as well. Like I said, big Frankenstein vibes there. I don't know, it's just really hard for me, I feel like, to give this book a rating because it's not a bad book. It definitely deals a lot with grief and moving on, and just like I said, this whole idea of this creature who is clearly meant to be in the wild but is trying so hard to conform to human standards and to fit into a functioning human society. So it was very interesting, and I think that the story is good. It's just not for me personally. And like I said, I went into this expecting a much bigger horror element, and it's really a very like soft horror, very muted horror undertones, although it does get more horror-ish towards the end. And like I said, I did really enjoy the way that the book ended as well. It definitely made me enjoy it more, but it was just the middle part for me. I know I've said it a million times. I kind of had to really drag myself through it because I wasn't really enjoying reading it at that point, but there were things that had happened in the plot that I wanted to stick around and get the resolution for. So I am glad that I finished it. Like, I wouldn't say that I think I should DNF or anything, but it was just different than what I was expecting. I think I will go with a 3 star. I would definitely still recommend this to people, and I could definitely see why and how other people really love it and really do enjoy it. For me, I liked the beginning, I liked the end, the part in the middle, it was just okay. Like, there was some important stuff that happened for the story progression and the character progression, but I don't know if it's just the way that it was done. I just didn't really vibe with it. However, still do love this cover. I don't know, just like the little shapes and the colors, and then this little creature down here. So cute. Also, I noticed this when I ended the book. In the author's about page, there's just a little monster down there. Also, this book is blurbed by Eric LaRocca, and I'm just noticing that for the first time. Also, do y'all pronounce it Eric LaRocca or do you say LaRocca? Because I've always said LaRocca, and then I've seen so many people on BookTube say LaRocca, and I'm like, have I been pronouncing it wrong this whole time? Anyway, Monstrilio, 3 stars, 3.5 stars. I may not rate it at all, but that's my feelings on it. If you are thinking about picking this book up, I would still recommend it. Like I said, it is, at the end of the day, a good book, but it just wasn't everything that I wanted it to be, unfortunately. Hello, today is the last day of Summerween, and my plan was to pick up episode 13 from the library because my hold came in, and I was gonna just stay up tonight and read that and squeeze it in. Unfortunately, I just checked online, and the library that my hold is at is closed today because it's extremely hot outside, and I guess their AC is not working. Totally understandable. I wouldn't want to be stuck in there either. So I'm gonna have to wait probably until Monday to pick that up, which is unfortunate, but now I don't have to stay up super late and try to read a book and squeeze it in, although I really wanted to because I'm excited to read episode 13. With that being said, I think today I'm just going to focus on finishing After the People Lights Have Gone Off. I'm 60% of the way through that, so I should be able to finish it no problem. And then, I don't know, I'll see if maybe there's something on Kindle Unlimited that I could squeeze in there. I'm not really sure. Maybe I'll just leave it at that. We'll see. Either way, I'll update you. Hello. I'm eating some pasta, even though it's like ridiculously hot. Who cares? Anyways, figured we would chat about After the People Lights Have Gone Off because I have read a few more stories. So I think the last one that I updated you guys on was the Spider Box. So the next story was called Snow Monsters, and it's basically about this dad who gets approached by a stranger who somehow knows this news about his kid and wants to make a deal with him, basically. I think I gave that one 3 stars. Like, it was alright, but wasn't anything particularly astonishing, I guess. The next one was a Doc's story, which I think I also gave 3 stars. This one is pretty much about werewolves in like a family of werewolves, and it was really interesting. I don't know, maybe I should give it like 3.5 stars. I did enjoy it, but once again, it didn't really like blow my mind that much. I thought it was alright. Then the next story was called The Dead Are Not, and I originally gave it 3.5 stars, but I think I might bump that up to a 4 because I'm still thinking about it. And that is basically about this man who is trying to come to terms with the approaching death of his partner, and weird people show up. I don't know. I really enjoyed it, and like I said, I am still thinking about it, so I think I'll bump that one up to probably a 4 star. Then the next one was called Zepico. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. It starts with an X. I gave this one 2 stars because I really wasn't interested in the story. It's like this guy who's involved with putting on this play that is based off of a story, and I don't know. It was weird, and I just wasn't really that into it, and I don't know if I fully comprehended everything that really happened in the story. I don't know. It was forgettable, so I gave it 2 stars. And then the most recent story that I read from that is Second Chances, and that is about a woman who is dealing with grief and loss of a child, and she works like at this lab with butterfly specimens, and it was pretty interesting, ambiguous, a little bit on the shorter side compared to most of these stories, but I enjoyed it overall. I think I gave it either 3 or 3.5 stars. I think I gave it 3.5 stars. So the next story that I'm gonna read is the title story, After the People Lights Have Gone Off, and this one is, I think, like 50 pages or something, so it's longer than any of the other stories have been, and I've heard good things about the title story, so I hope that this one is good. So I finished the title story in the collection, and I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars. It was very interesting. We're mainly following this couple where a very, I don't know, bizarre, tragic, just crazy accident happens to the wife, and so she ends up in a wheelchair, and now they're living in this house together, and she starts sleepwalking, if you can call it sleepwalking, because she can't really walk because she doesn't have use of her legs anymore, but she starts dragging herself around in the night while she's sleeping, and it was very interesting and weird, and I really like that one, and I can see why that story in particular gets such high praise. I feel like there was a metaphor or some message that maybe I didn't fully comprehend, but I still really enjoyed the story as it was, so I'm gonna give that one 4 stars, I said. I have 2 more stories to go. I'm gonna shower first and then read those, and then I will come back and let y'all know what the official rating is. Okay, I finished After the People Lights Have Gone Off. The second to last story was called Uncle, and I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. It's about this guy whose wife has just died, and he finds like this, I don't know what it's called, like a laser pointer that reads like the temperature of whatever you point it at, and he like assumes that she ordered it right before she died, and so he kind of like plays with it, and he thinks that his dead wife is trying to send him a message or communicate with him in some way. It was kind of interesting. Gave it a 3.5. I think it was a little bit of an interesting storyline. It just wasn't my favorite. And then the last one was called Solve for X, and that one got a 4 star from me, and I think that one's another one of my favorites from this collection. It's about this woman who has obviously been like kidnapped by somebody and is like being held in this room where like her mouth and her arms and everything are taped up, and her captor comes in every day and plays this game with her, and it gets bloody and gruesome and just strange. I did enjoy that one. Like I said, I think that'll go in my like favorites. So that'll be one of my top 3 with 13 and The Spindly Man. But I added up all of the ratings and divided it by the number of stories that there were, and the average rating was 3.3. So I think on Goodreads I'm just gonna put it as a 3. I don't know, it wasn't really my favorite. I think I'm probably gonna forget about a lot of these stories, except for the ones that I really enjoyed more than the others. I feel like my biggest issue with a lot of these stories is like they started off good and intriguing, and the ending just like left me with nothing, and I was just like, okay, moving on. I also have a hard time with Stephen Graham Jones's like writing style sometimes. Like I said, I'm getting more used to it because I've read more of his things, but it's definitely just, I don't know, very unique, and sometimes it can be hard to really understand what is going on, especially when you feel like the ending just kind of leaves you hanging. It's just weird because there is such high praise for this book, especially. I mean, all of Stephen Graham Jones, I feel like so many people love, and I'm not saying that I dislike his work by any means. I do really enjoy it, but this short story collection specifically has such high praise, and I'm just like, did I miss something here? Like, can somebody explain to me what the takeaway was from each of these stories? I don't know. I guess I'm just in the minority with this. Alrighty, well, Summerween is officially over. I'm sad, but I think we did pretty good. So I'm going to do a little bit of a recap for you guys, just so we can go over all the books that I read and what I rated them. So we started off Summerween with the Saturday Night Ghost Club. This I gave 4 stars. It is very much like coming of age, summery vibes. Really, really enjoyed it. Then I read Mr. Magic by Kirsten White, which I gave 5 stars, and I would highly recommend. It comes out August 1st, and you should pick it up if it sounds interesting to you. Then I read The Silent Woods by Kimmy Cunningham Grant, and this one made me way more emotional than I thought it would, and it got 5 stars from me as well. Then I read Monstrilio, and I gave that one 3 stars. It wasn't exactly what I was expecting it to be, but I do think at the end of the day it is a good book. And then I also read After the Pupil Lights Have Gone Off, which is a short story collection by Stephen Graham Jones. Overall, I gave this 3 stars. There were a few stories that I really enjoyed, but most of them were kind of average or below for me. So in total, I somehow read 9 books for Summerween. I had 3 5 stars, 3 4 stars, and 3 3 stars. So that kind of balanced out really well, surprisingly. And luckily we didn't have anything lower than a 3 star, so I would say that it was a pretty good reading week. With that being said, let me know what you guys read this Summerween, and if you had any 5 stars or new favorites. And thank you so much for watching. I hope I'll see you next time.